This story was submitted by a subscriber. This is the Filipino version of the story, so I thought it'd be fun to translate it to English and share it here. Let me know what you think in the comments. Also, please consider subscribing and supporting us because we're trying to reach a milestone this year. Thank you very much. Here are some random words from the story to help you understand it better. Maganda is beautiful. Magastos is expensive or lavish. Relata is poor. Pasa is hopeless. Sahig is floor. Taon is year. U is thirsty. Okay, now let's get started. Many years ago, in a remote village nestled between tall mountains, lived a young girl named Lyra. She was born poor, and her entire life was filled with nothing but hunger and hard work. Her first taste as a baby was her mother's milk, and the second was the sweat of her parents who worked as tenant farmers. The land they worked on belonged to a wealthy, aging man named Don Faustino. Life was difficult, and during storms or droughts, her family fell deeper into debt and had to borrow money from the landlord. Every time they needed help, they went to Don Faustino, their only source of help and obligation. Year after year, they kept going back to him, until finally, when Lyra was 13 years old, her family could no longer pay their debts. They had nothing left to pawn, and Don Faustino had run out of patience. He was a bad-tempered man who wanted everything to go his way. He felt that the only way to solve their debt was for Lyra to marry him. Then one afternoon in the middle of a big storm, as rain pounded on their thatched roof, they received a message from Don Faustino. Her parents had to go to his house that night. On their way, they were soaked in rain and shivered in the cold wind, each step bringing them closer to despair. When they arrived at the house, they saw Don Faustino sitting calmly by the lamplight, his face expressionless. He told them that he knew they had nothing left to offer except their daughter. Don Faustino looked at Lyra and said, "You have always been indebted to me. Now I'm giving you a chance to pay off your debt. Marry me." Her parents argued, saying she was just a kid. But Don Faustino insisted, telling them it was either that or he would throw them out onto the street without shelter. They begged for mercy, promising to work even harder and pay him back. But Don Faustino was determined. He declared that they had no other choice and that she must agree to his proposal. Feeling trapped and desperate, her parents eventually gave in, thinking it was the lesser of two evils. Their only thought was that it was really that bad since Don Faustino was an old man and would undo anything to their daughter. So months later, they held a wedding ceremony. They signed papers establishing that Lyra was now Don Faustino's wife. Everyone in the village was shocked and upset about the marriage. They couldn't believe Don Faustino would treat Lyra like this, but no one dared to speak up against him. For the next 3 years, no one saw Lyra. She became a prisoner in her own home. Every day she served Don Faustino, cooked his food, and endured his grumpy orders in silence. Despite being well taken care of, she slowly lost her youthful glow. She was only 16 years old, but people already considered her a widow. She spent her days watering plants, cleaning the yard, and preparing food for the old man. When he wasn't around, she would lie down on the floor, staring blankly at the ceiling, imagining a different life for herself. She dreamed of having a family and friends, laughing and playing together. She wondered if anyone thought of her, or if they assumed she had died. Sometimes she talked to herself, sharing her joys, sorrows, dreams, and disappointments with her own reflection. But most of the time she was silent, not knowing what else to do. She would stand by the window, watching children playing and feeling left out. She missed her family and wished she could talk to them. However, Don Faustino didn't allow any visits, and she had no phone to contact them. She felt abandoned and desperate, wondering if anyone remembered her. Then one morning, Don Faustino died peacefully in his rocking chair on the veranda. No one knows how he felt about her, whether he loved or hated her. Nobody ever heard him say a kind word to her. They only saw him shout and scream. But maybe he treated her well because she never complained or asked for anything. Maybe he figured she understood because she had no choice. He left this world without leaving her any children. In his final will, he left all his land, livestock, and wealth to her, including his house. The child, who once knew nothing but poverty, became the sole heir to a vast estate. She inherited everything, both the blessings and problems. At first, she was scared and didn't know what to do, but decided to fix their broken home and take care of her siblings. She sent them to school and paid off the debts of other farmers so they could continue working on her land. She didn't kick them out, instead allowing them to grow crops on her land for free. And little by little, news spread about the quiet girl who became a rich landowner. People began calling her the farmer's daughter who became a lady. However, deep in her heart, the memory remained of a stolen youth, of a life that might have been. Even though she forgave Don Faustino, she knew her story was unique and no one could understand it. Nobody could take away the pain of her past, nor the meaning she chose to give it. She was a woman who experienced love and loss, joy and sorrow, hope and despair, but she still stood tall. She had faith that someday someone would come along who truly loved her and understood her story. Then she would no longer be alone and could move forward with her head held high. Thank you for listening. Subscribe to our channel so you won't miss any news stories. You can also send us your story through the email provided below. Again, thank you for listening and see you next time.